And hello and welcome to Point of View. I'm Ryan with Elliot, as always. Um, Before we get into everything, we're actually just going to cut straight to the chase. LeBron James, four-time NBA champion, four-time Finals MVP. There's only one guy that's done it. Obviously, it's taken more attempts. But do you think? And he also said at the very end he wants some damn respect. Do you think he's finally going to get it?
From I think some people will, but there's always going to be some people in the media and elsewhere who no matter what LeBron does, he could win six, he could win seven, they still won't give him respect. But I think overall in the basketball community, for the most part, I think he's proven that he's warranted some respect, and I think he'll get it. I know a lot of people talk about this NBA Finals that it shouldn't really count, but you have to remember, they were playing and then they stopped for 5 months without being with your teammates, without being anything, and just being thrown out there and asked to deliver a championship. So I actually think it's one of the hardest championships that has been won. You could say that he got a break with the Clippers choking, but that's not LeBron's fault. You could say had a break without seeing the Celtics, but that's not LeBron's fault either. So I think the respect that he's going to get going forward, he'll have a bigger target on his back, but LeBron's never been afraid of that.
And I agree with that. Me and you have done this multiple times. I know people argue back and forth who's the GOAT. I mean, it almost has to be LeBron now, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, look, there are obviously certain things that Michael Jordan has done better than LeBron James. And this is no ill will against Michael Jordan. It's just a passing of the torch. Larry Bird had it for a while. Magic had it for a while. If you go further back, Bill Russell had it. He was the GOAT at one point. So, but I think he's finally done enough to justify himself being the greatest player of all time. And people talk about the killer instinct and things like that. But you have to remember, LeBron James has more game-winning shots in the playoffs than Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan combined. He's been to whatever amount of finals. He did lose a bunch, but he's got four titles and has been to six losses, whatever. But I think you have to look at this as more than just who has the better final record. It goes with everything, and I think all things considered, I can't believe I'm saying it, but I actually, at this point in time, I genuinely think that LeBron James is the GOAT. Michael didn't win anything or get to the finals even without Scottie Pippen. He's the best number two of all time. And like Colin Cowherd said last week, Michael needed Scottie. All LeBron James needs is a basketball, and he can take you to the finals because he's taken some really horrific teams further than they probably should have gone.
Speaking of horrific teams, I don't want to say they were a horrific team, but how about a horrific sports city? People don't realize that one title in 2016 means more than any title that any player has won in the history of sports. And I'm taking that even bigger than the Cubs winning the World Series. Because if you look at it, there was just one sport in Chicago. They had the Blackhawks, they had the Bulls, they had the Bears winning it. No city has suffered like Cleveland. So that one title is above and beyond any title that anybody has won in North America.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, like you said, the people of Chicago have seen the Bulls win, they've seen the White Sox win, they've seen the Cubs win, they've seen the Blackhawks win, they've seen every team basically that they have there win championships. Where Cleveland,
and if you're a football fan like we are, the Fire have even won a title.
Exactly. So you look at Cleveland, they haven't won anything. I mean, nothing significant. And for LeBron James to do what he did in Cleveland, regardless of the circumstance, he went down 3-1 and won the title. Yes, Kyrie hit the shot, but LeBron had the block that set up that moment. So I don't think you can really – I don't know how to explain it. There's nothing will really live up to what he was able to bring Cleveland.
I agree with that. Now to my next thing. Me being a lifelong Pacers fan, I was so happy for Frank Vogel. How much of him do you think he had influence on his team? Because you could tell a lot. His philosophy has always been to play team ball, and it looks like and I'm not saying LeBron's a selfish player at all, but this is like the first time in LeBron's career that he didn't have to do everything, and the Lakers really played the game as a team. How much credit do you give Vogel?
Oh, a fair bit. I mean, you can see. I mean, a lot of people think that that anyone could have just gone in there and done that, but others hadn't. So I think Vogel deserves a lot of credit. I think LeBron obviously deserves a lot of credit. But the person I give the most credit to, at least, is the putting this team together. They got Rondo back on a minimum deal. Dwight Howard came up big down the stretch. JaVale McGee, a lot of the ownership, the general manager. Vogel obviously gets a lot of credit, and LeBron James obviously is also going to be a part of that as well. But I think Vogel went from being, a bust as a coach after going to Orlando and losing 100 games to turning that around for him is awesome. But just as a collective, winning the Lakers' 13th championship is tremendous.
And tell us why you say it's 13, because I know people are going to say it's 17. But tell us what your opinion is on that.
So look, if you're going to give the Lakers the 17, then the Thunder have won. If we're not counting the Thunder, the Seattle Supersonics championship that they had back in the day as a Thunder title, then you can't count what the Lakers did in Minneapolis. The Celtics won all 17 in a city, and I'm not. This isn't even a Celtics versus Laker thing. They won 5 championships in LA. If they had changed their name to something else, the new franchise would not have. They wouldn't have been able to take along the championships that they had won before that into your new city. So again, if we're gonna give the Lakers 17, then the Thunder have championships, and I don't think anybody, and I mean nobody, views the Thunders as having a title. So if we're gonna have that,
can I also say same thing with the Atlanta Hawks? They won a title in St. Louis when they were originally here.
Yep.
And I don't think anybody views the Atlanta Hawks as having a title.
Exactly. So you can't view the Lakers as having 17. They won 4 or 5. I don't know. I think it's either 12 or 13. And it's great. They have the second most titles in league history. But even if they win next year and the year after that and have more than whatever you count up, so suppose they win the next 2, that would take them to 19. But still, it wouldn't be more than the Celtics, because the Celtics, didn't move to another city. The Celtics won all 17 in that place. And again, the Lakers changed their name to something else when they come to Los Angeles. Then the titles that they won in Minneapolis don't count the same. So all due respect to the Lakers, great franchise, second best franchise, or even the best franchise, you can argue, regardless of the championships. A lot of Hall of Famers, a lot of great things have happened in the Los Angeles Lakers organization as they continue to be define excellence. But again, you can't count the championships that you had won in a previous city. That's not a part of the Lakers organization. That's part of the Minneapolis organization. So that's why, I count it as 13 and not 17.
All right. Dwight Howard's legacy. This is an interesting one. At some point, he was the best setter in the game, for about a good 5 or 6 year stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Finally gets a ring. And I know he wasn't like the biggest part, but he still played a lot, was a key contributor. When we look back on his legacy, what do you think that's going to be?
It should be Hall of Famer, because if you just look at what he did in Orlando before that, he won the Defensive Player of the Year like 3 times. He was a 8-time All-Star. He took a team to a finals that had no business being there. Conference finals after that. He goes to LA originally, and then I don't know, something went on with Dwight Howard. His injuries, I feel like he didn't have the work ethic. He didn't take it seriously enough at some point. He comes back to LA. He takes a minimum deal on stipulations that they can cut him for nothing at any point in time. He comes in there. He plays, 15, 20 minutes a game. He comes in there and is a big part of the championship. And if I was the Lakers, I would bring him back again. And if they don't bring him back, someone else will pay him. So I think his legacy is cured, because if the thing about if he doesn't win this championship, then people are going to think of he spent time with the Hornets, with the Rockets, with the Wizards, and he was starting to have a journeyman career. And with this championship, he kind of erased that narrative, because I thought Dwight Howard was never going to win anything.
Yeah, and I'm really happy for him. Now the big question. I know we got that guy out there in Milwaukee. I know we got that guy out there in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, though, LeBron leaves, we have a young man named Anthony Davis who's only 27, 28. Do you think he could take the league on his shoulders to become the next face? And I asked that because not only did he win the finals, he was dominant. And if you would have argued that Anthony Davis deserved the MVP, I could have gone for it 110%.
As far as him being the face of the league,
yeah,
I'm not sure. Obviously, he's got the game to do it, but being the face of the league has more than just the way you play basketball. It's about the branding. It's about what you represent. It's about all these things, and that's why LeBron James has been the face of basketball the entirety of this whole thing. And I think it also comes to storylines. So I think it's and I know neither one of these players are American, but Giannis and Doncic have there's a certain unique quality about them. And I know they haven't won a championship like Davis, but Giannis came from Greece. The first couple of years in the league, he couldn't. His parents couldn't come and see him. There was a lot of stuff going on, and he was just by himself, and he eventually exploded onto the scene and was two-time MVP and all this stuff, and it gradually took him to the level. And then Doncic, if his Real Madrid team doesn't win the championship before he comes to the league, I'm not sure he gets drafted where he does, and I'm not sure he's even in the same breath. And obviously he's really good, but I think the storyline surrounding those two are just a little bit more enticing. Where Davis, we have the years in the New Orleans where it was just making the playoffs and getting a first round exit. And so he can be the future of the Lakers, but I'm not sure he can be the face of the league based on some of the other factors of the other storylines that are more enticing. And Davis, just before going to LA, as great as he didn't really make a difference individually in terms of a playoff push. And it's nothing against Anthony Davis. I think he's an awesome guy. He did a great job. It was a great moment to see him burst into tears after winning a championship finally. So it's nothing against Anthony Davis, but I feel like the New Orleans stuff he's not going to be there because of what happened in New Orleans. And I just feel like Giannis and Doncic have a little bit more flair about it. But if we're talking about the face of the league, and it just depends on LeBron, and I know he didn't play that much this year, but Steph Curry's a multiple champion. He's a big part of why Golden State had the success. He's not the only piece, obviously, and that's another person who also you could say could be the face of the league based on his personality, based on his brand, and all the other things combined with it. But it's hard to say who will be the face of the league because I still have a hard time imagining the NBA without LeBron James.
Yep. All right, so speaking of face of the league, I'm going to shift to Dallas, and you'll stand by this saying you think Giannis will go to Dallas.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Do you think, because we've seen all these super teams in like these mega NBA markets, so you got Los Angeles, obviously, Miami mega NBA market. When Giannis goes to Dallas, we all know what's king there. It's not the Mavericks. It is Jerry Jones and his Cowboys. You could even argue that with how big of a baseball state Texas is, that the Rangers are probably even bigger than the Mavericks at the moment, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, honestly, how good do you think it'll be for the NBA if they get a mega team that can win 3 or 4 championships? Do you think that basketball – I mean, obviously when Dirk was there, they would sell out games. But do you think basketball can grow from we're going to sell out games and we'll have 1 million fans to where the whole city of Dallas just goes absolutely nuts if they get a superstar team like that?
Well, they'll never pass the Cowboys, and it doesn't matter how good or bad they are because the Cowboys are always a topic of conversation. So even if they went 2-14 or something, there's just the conversation will always be about the Cowboys, and that's never going to change the big brand, Jerry Jones, all this stuff. But I think they could be, I mean, right behind them at some point. And you're probably right. At this point, the Rangers are probably a bigger deal there in Texas. But you bring Giannis with Doncic, with Kristaps, with a lot of other good pieces, I think they can win multiple championships. And if they start to do that, then maybe we have a conversation between them and the Rangers and potentially being the second team in the city. Again, I don't ever think they'll be able to I don't think they'll ever be more than Dallas or more than the Cowboys, because the Cowboys are the Cowboys, and it just seems like it's like impossible for anyone to really suggest that the Dallas Mavericks could overtake them. But I think they could be the most successful team in town, if that makes sense. If the pieces go together.
Do you think? And this is the crazy thing, because the Rangers aren't even the second biggest team in Texas. We all know it's Texas A&M and the University of Texas too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's a good for the NBA? And I know Dallas has won one championship, and I know the Mavericks got huge when Dirk is there. Do you think it's a good thing for the NBA to have a super team in a city like that? And I know Dallas is massive. I know everything. Or would you think they prefer to have it in a city like Miami? If that makes sense.
Right. So Miami, it's obviously more enticing in Miami, but Dallas is still a massive market. And with a couple of championships with Giannis and Doncic and Kristaps and everybody else, you certainly can make the argument that they can start to change that conversation. Again, the University of Texas is a big one. That's another branding-wise, it will be hard to overcome that. But I feel like, again, it can become one. It can become much more popular basketball-wise in the city. You have a great owner. You have a franchise player. You bring Giannis. You got another one in there. You got Kristaps, who's an all-star, and then you have when these guys are rolling, and they had obviously all this stuff happen with Dirk, but this is their opportunity to sort of make their mark in the city. And again, I don't think the Cowboys are going to win anything anytime soon. I don't think the University of Texas is going to win anything anytime soon. So it's possible they could become the most successful team in town. Of course, they're still going to have to deal with some of these other big boys in the NBA, and we'll see what happens. But I don't actually – Miami is obviously ideal, but I think Dallas is actually a fine place to build a team, because even though it's not the biggest team in the city, it's still a massive brand to have an NBA franchise.
Not only is it a massive brand, but they proved this year that towns care about winners. So when their hockey team, and the Stars did, and look at how they went cup crazy.
Yeah.
I think it all depends on who your winner is.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
All right. So my next question for you, sir, is regards to the NBA. Okay. Do you think Giannis has played his last game with the Bucks? He unfollowed everybody on social media. Does not seem happy with the first round exit. All that stuff. What do you think?
He hasn't played his last game with the Bucks, because I don't think he's gonna move this summer, but he'll move next summer if they don't. The Bucks have to surround him with the best possible team they can to win a championship, or at least get to the finals. If they're unable to do that, then he's probably gone next summer. But I think he'll give the Bucks another chance to sort of consolidate everything that's going on and trying to build the best possible team that they can. We'll see what happens beyond this season, next season. But I think he'll stay there for one more year. And if it doesn't click or it doesn't work out for those teams, just next season, and they don't win anything, they don't make the finals, and they have a similar season that they had this season, then it's over. But I think the Bucks have one more year to sort of get this thing right. Because if he somehow, I don't think it's going to happen, but if they win a championship and they get him another star or something, then maybe they can win. But again, if they don't win a championship or make the finals next year, he'll be gone.
All right. Do you think it matters if they win a title next year anyway?
If the Bucks win the championship, I think he'll stay. If they don't, he won't. Even if they go to Game 7 of the NBA Finals and the Lakers beat them, I don't think that's enough. They have to lift the Larry O'Brien Trophy, or it's just not going to happen. Or he's going to end up in either Dallas, Miami, or Golden State. That's just the situation I see. But again, I don't think they're going to win the championship, because I think I don't know who's going to win the East, but I don't think it's going to be Milwaukee.
No. And God, I don't want him in Milwaukee either. And once again, we've talked about this, and it's no disrespect to the people in that city.
Yeah, of
They're
course
too
not.
small of a city. Nobody cares about you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, God, I'd love it if he signed with the Knicks. You know, how fun would that be?
That would
I
be
mean,
incredible.
the NBA is all about the brand. I mean,
Yeah.
the basketball secondary. I mean, we love the sport, but we all know who's got a chance to win every year. You got your classic teams, the Celtics and the Lakers, and then it's
Yeah.
whoever can build the best brand. And that's
Exactly.
just the facts of it.
Hmm.
So, I mean, no disrespect Milwaukee. Who cares about the Milwaukee Bucks? Until you got Giannis, you were nobodies.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
even Aaron Rodgers is in the same city, and you never see him at Bucks games. That should tell you at least some indication that the people in Milwaukee don't really care about the Milwaukee Bucks.
I got you. And that's true. Um, I don't think though. Yeah, they're not even the third most popular team. They're not even the fourth most popular team in the state because you got the Brewers baseball, you got Wisconsin Badgers, and of course you got the Packers. So I mean, I don't
Yeah,
understand why he'd want to stay there.
I don't either,
But that being said,
but they almost won 70 games, so I think he'll give another shot. According to rumors, management's going to try to put him together with another star. So he'll give him a shot, but I don't think he doesn't seem like the type of person that's going to demand a trade or anything like that. He'll leave if he wants to leave, he'll leave, but he won't do it the way Anthony Davis did it.
listen, if they're saying pair him with a star, and I'm a Pacers fan, I mean, honestly, who'd want to go there? I mean, probably honestly their highest ceiling for getting a star. Wouldn't you say it'd probably be like an Oladipo or something like that?
I think they can get Westbrook. That's the one star I think they could land. And then someone like Oladipo is possible, or yeah, but I think Westbrook is the highest level star that would come that would go there. Maybe they could get Paul George,
And honestly,
but I don't think so.
this is me being honest. I think Westbrook going there was a horrible move.
I think it is too.
Um, could you explain why? And then I'll give you my take.
Well, because what Giannis needs is somebody that is good defensively, that can hit threes, shoots a high percentage, can deliver from the free throw line. Westbrook is a bad free throw shooter, a bad 3-point shooter, and hangs onto the ball way too often. You need ball movement, not someone who's going to dribble it for 25 minutes. So I think that's a horrible move. I think it's the best they can do as far as bringing another star. But I just don't think the style of play of Westbrook is going to go well with Giannis because that's not what he needs. He doesn't need a guy who can at times tries to stat pad and at times fail miserably in open shot situations. He just doesn't need someone who's going to dominate the ball. He needs someone like it'll never happen, but someone like Klay Thompson would be a perfect match for Giannis, and that won't happen, obviously. But that's the type of player he needs. He doesn't need a Russell Westbrook.
And all right, so you don't think the Bucks are contenders next year?
Depends what you define as contender.
I define winning the title as a contender.
Then no. Then no.
All right, I think I know why, but I'm going to get into this next topic. How much do you think we're starting to underappreciate how good Eric Spoelstra is?
I mean, he's like I said a couple weeks ago. I think he's the best coach in basketball. I wouldn't say that. He's the best. I thought he should have won Coach of the Year given what Miami was going to be and what they became through the whole situation. I think he did a tremendous job. LeBron wanted somebody else when he was in Miami. Eric Spoelstra was a big reason why they won those championships. And I think he's one of the best coaches in basketball. And end of story. And I know they went through a period where they didn't win and didn't make the playoffs, but you can see with somebody just a glimpse of talent. He can take them to a level that they're at.
With the Heat, and I agree with that 100%. You think I think he'll win another title with them. What do you think they need to get back? They won 2 games, and I know the last game was a blowout. What do you think they need to get back and win next year?
Man, I don't know. It's all going to depend.
I can't call this a fluke. You know?
No, it's not a fluke. But and then Jimmy Butler took them. They need another star, or they're not gonna be able. They can get back to the finals, but if they get back to the finals, it'll be a similar result if they do it. Because I don't know what's gonna happen with the Lakers. I don't know who they're gonna bring in. There'll be some upgrades in Los Angeles. And I think for the time being, they are the prohibited favorites in LA, just because we don't know who's coaching the Clippers, and there's a lot of question marks surrounding most of the Western Conference. So the Lakers will be back in the finals next season. I think they'll probably win it again. But if Miami wants to get back there, they need to get themselves another star. And I don't think there's a way for them to really get there again based on not without another star. They need somebody else to realistically have a chance to win it, because they did get 2 games, but this entire series was a huge mismatch.
I agree with that 110%. I got to ask this question, even though he's even said on Instagram, we're going to run it right back, going to repeat. Is there any chance that a team could come out there with an offer that could take Anthony Davis away from the Lakers?
No chance.
That already got a ring.
Zero, like less than zero. He just won a championship with LeBron James. LeBron James is still the best player in basketball. They just are coming off a championship. This was the thing. When he rejected his initial offer from the Lakers, it was because they can offer him a supermax in the summer. That would be so he'd be leaving like $70 million on the table had he taken that initial offer. Miami's not going to be able to do it. Chicago's not going to be able to do it. Nope, there's nothing that can happen that's going to get Anthony Davis to leave LeBron James. It's not happening.
Yeah, I agree with that. And speaking of Chicago, you want to talk about a franchise that's fallen, and we'll bring up the next 2. What do you think? And I do love talking about the Bulls. They're building correctly. What do you think it's going to take for them to be a consistent playoff team again? Because we all know in our lifetime, and I think this is fair. I'm going to make this prediction right now. We will see at least 1 Bulls championship in our lifetime, and I guarantee you we'll see at least 2 or 3 Knicks championships when dumbass decides to sell the team.
Not soon, but eventually.
Yeah, eventually on both. Do you really think – because I know the – oh, crap, I forget. We watched The Last Dance. The Bulls owner we all know is not very good. Jerry Reinsdorf. And obviously James Dolan. Do you really think, because they're 2 massive markets for a lot of money, do you really think it's the ownership at this point?
It has to be. Look, I know people, obviously, the supervillain of the Last Dance was Reinsdorf was obviously an issue, but it was Jerry Krause. But in fairness to Jerry Krause, who's no longer the GM of the Bulls, who's
God rest his soul, by the way.
Yeah. But as much as there's so much about Jerry Krause that in the Last Dance just rubs you the wrong way, he was one of the best general managers in the history of basketball. He drafted not Michael Jordan, but he drafted Scottie Pippen. He put all the pieces together so they could win multiple championships.
He got Rodman.
Exactly. He got Pippen. He even some of the smaller pieces. He got Paxton. There's so many different pieces of that team that he put together. He built this team.
Steve Kerr. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and it was his fault. He blew it up when it wasn't necessary. That's on him. How it ended is on him. But up until that point, the way he built this team was tremendous. Reinsdorf, I don't even know how the only thing he's done positively is he hired Jerry Krause as the general manager and was able to draft Michael Jordan. I mean, literally, he hasn't done anything else to even. I don't know how to explain it.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Can I interrupt really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
He's done 2 positive things as an ownership because he also owns the Chicago White Sox. He hired Kenny Williams and Ozzie Guillen as general manager, respectively, and they won the World Series. Nothing to do with him. He just signed the checks. He is meddlesome. He's a rubbish owner. He has just made 2 good hires and has won 6 of the Bulls and a world title with the White Sox. He has won 7 championships in his combined 2 teams based on dumb luck.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know about that, but yeah, that's true. I think he's the problem. I don't think they've made that many great moves at any point in time. The GM with the Bulls is what got them to that level, and when Jerry Krause wasn't there anymore, they stopped doing well. So if I'm not mistaken, he even drafted Derrick Rose, and I know Derrick Rose isn't wasn't what he was supposed to be. He won an MVP. He got to the conference final. So I think Ryan Dorsch is the problem, and I think there's some pieces I like. I like Kobe White. I think he showed some flashes. Zach LaVine is obviously not the flashiest player in the league, but obviously his dunks are amazing. But he's averaging 20 plus a game since being there. The team is a mess. Other than that, Wendell Carter's nice, but they have so much work to do with this team. Eventually, they're going to get it right, but it's going to be a long time before that happens.
My question is about James Dolan, and this is an interesting one. So the New York Rangers made really good trades, okay? Not only did they make the playoffs last year, they made a trade so good they got the first overall pick for Alexis Lafreniere, who's going to be, by all standards, could be like the next Alex Ovechkin.
Mm-hmm.
People forget he owns the Rangers that are consistently in the playoffs, consistently competing for a Stanley Cup, and then his basketball team's a complete shit show. Do you really think it's just – obviously, I think he doesn't care about hockey. Do you really think he cares too much about the Knicks? In like a bad way. That like everything he touches just turns to crap.
I mean,
because it doesn't make sense that your hockey team's competing for a championship when your other team you're on is finishing last place every year.
Yeah, I think you're right. He doesn't know what he's doing. There have been the Charles Oakley thing was horrible. Then Spike Lee being stopped in an elevator at the Garden. I mean, it just his I don't know how to explain it. His dealings with personnel is horrendous, and he hasn't made that many good hires. The Knicks are a mess. I don't know how anybody would want to go there. KD and Kyrie could have gone to the Knicks last summer, and they went to Brooklyn. So that basically says everything you need to know about why the Knicks are in the situation they are. I think if he sells the team to somebody who's more willing to take it, they could, and I think they're a long way from being good, but they could at least do something with that where it just, at this rate, doesn't seem like they're going anywhere. And RJ Barrett's nice, but there's just nothing about this team that really is all that good to begin with, and he's the reason why they're so bad.
All right. Here's my next question to you. And I gotta go use the restroom really quick, so I'll be right back, but I'll let you answer it. If you're the Knicks, do you just, I know it sounds crazy, do you even consider trading RJ Barrett just to tank and get worse and worse and worse until, and I know the 76ers thing didn't work as planned, but they're at least a playoff team year in and year out now. Do you even consider trying something like that? Because you are that big of a laughingstock and a joke. I'll be right back while you're giving our audience the thoughts.
I'll just pause the recording, and then I'll answer it when you come back.
All right, cool.